Believe it or not, Cincinnati does have a clear path to the playoffs, and it's in the hands of 4 teams. What's going on, everybody? It's me again, Golden Blue Dude, and if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. I do college football videos every single day, so whether you agree with me or want to trash talk me, you're going to like the channel. So on this show, I wanted to talk about the path for the Cincinnati Bearcats to get into the 2020 college football playoffs. And if you boil it down, it's really in the hands of 4 teams. Now, first things first, Cincinnati has to win out, and it's not a given. Let's take a look at their schedule real quick. First, they have to beat Memphis at home. Memphis is a good team. Then they have to beat Houston at home. That could be tricky. Then they have to beat a bad East Carolina team at home. And then they finish the regular season with 3 away games, not including the AAC championship game. Those 3 games at UCF. I know they're down, but that could be a tough game. At Temple, they do have trouble with Temple. And then at Tulsa. Tulsa looks like a decent team as well. So it's not a given for Cincinnati to go undefeated, but that's the first thing that needs to happen. The next thing that needs to happen is Oklahoma State needs to lose at least 1 time. Let's look at their schedule real quick. Their next game is a home game against Texas. Then they get a tough road trip to number 16, Kansas State. Kansas State is looking better and better each week. That could be tricky. And then a road trip to number 24, Oklahoma, even though they're 3-2, but their offense looks like it's getting better by the week as well. Then a home game against Texas Tech, at TCU, and then at Baylor. And then, of course, if they get to the Big 12 championship, they would have to win that to get in. So Oklahoma State needs to lose at least 1 time for Cincinnati to get in. Now, the rest of this is 3 teams: Clemson, Alabama, and Ohio State. And those 3 teams also need to go undefeated for the clearest path for Cincinnati to get to the playoffs. Why? Well, the first thing is Georgia needs to lose 1 more time. Their games at Kentucky, Florida, at Missouri, home game against Mississippi State, and then at South Carolina. So let's say Florida would happen to beat Georgia, and that's their second loss. Well, then they're done. Well, then Florida wins out. That goes back to Alabama needs to go undefeated, meaning they would have to beat Florida. That would solve that problem as well. But really, we all expect Georgia to beat Florida, and then if Alabama went undefeated, they would beat Georgia again, giving them their second loss. Problem solved. Then let's go over to the ACC. Notre Dame needs to get owned by Clemson. Their games remaining at Georgia Tech, then the home game against Clemson, at Boston College, at North Carolina, home against Syracuse, and then at Wake Forest. So even if they beat North Carolina, they need to get beat twice convincingly by Clemson. 1 in the regular season and 1 in the ACC championship. Speaking of North Carolina and Miami, they're still in the hunt as well. So what needs to happen there? Well, the loser is out. The winner needs to lose 1 more time. And that's what I'm saying. All 3 of these teams have to play each other. North Carolina has to play Notre Dame and Miami has to play North Carolina, and Notre Dame has to play Clemson. So whoever survives out of that will still have to play Clemson, and will have 1 loss already. And that's what I'm talking about with Clemson. As long as Clemson goes undefeated, all of this will solve itself. And then the last team, Ohio State. If Ohio State goes undefeated, that also would help Cincinnati as well. So the 2 teams that would worry Bearcat fans would be Wisconsin and Michigan. And both of those teams looked good. So they would need at least 1 loss. I think the schedule is small enough to where 1 loss would knock them out over an undefeated Cincinnati team. The crazy thing is these 2 teams play each other in Ann Arbor. So the loser is out, 1 loss, too small of a schedule, and the winner will go on to play Ohio State if they go undefeated. So if Ohio State does what I say they need to do go undefeated. There you go. And that's my point. This is the path that can get the Bearcats into the playoffs. Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State going undefeated. That would solve all of these other problems that I mentioned. And if you think about it, this would cover pretty much any other team you would want to throw into that mix. We'll go to Blue Dude. What about Texas A&M? Well, if Alabama does what they're supposed to do, taken care of. Indiana, Ohio State, they do what they're supposed to do. Any team you want to insert into there, as long as those three teams go undefeated, it takes care of that problem. And to go along with that, Oklahoma State needs to lose at least one game. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.